Welcome to Speak for Yourself. I'm Jason Whitlock. That's Marcellus Wiley. That dude.
Yes, sir.
Coming up, we'll tell you what to think about Big Ben Roethlisberger criticizing his teammates.
And I've got another installment of the Emmy Award-winning That Dude's Dude. But we start every day with a Whitlock. What you got today, big dog?
The key to saving people is assessing how much they want to save themselves.
Preach.
This is why you can't save everyone. Some people just don't want to be saved. The Washington Redskins have made a huge error in their attempt to save linebacker Reuben Foster. Foster's behavior while a member of the San Francisco 49ers reveals a person unwilling to take the necessary steps to save himself. The 49ers released Foster on Monday morning, 24 hours after he was arraigned in Tampa on domestic violence charges. It's the second time in a year the same woman has accused Foster of domestic violence. The first time she recanted and said she fabricated the allegation. Tuesday afternoon, the Redskins claimed Foster's rights. Redskins Super Bowl MVP turned team vice president Doug Williams released a statement explaining Washington's thinking. Today, he said, "We have claimed the rights to Reuben Foster. The Redskins fully understand the severity of the recent allegations made against Reuben. If true, you can be sure these allegations are nothing our organization would ever condone. Let me be clear. Reuben will have to go through numerous steps, including the full legal process, an investigation and potential discipline from the NFL, as well as meetings with counselors associated with the team before he will ever have the opportunity to wear the burgundy and gold as a player." All right, I get it. The Redskins loved Reuben Foster before the 2017 NFL Draft. The Alabama linebacker had can't-miss talent and a backstory that would make the hardest man weep. When he was just 18 months old and being held in his mother's arms, Foster's father pulled a gun and shot at his mother, but the bullet struck Reuben Foster. Foster's father was a fugitive for that crime until 5 years ago. So, yeah, I get it. The Redskins feel sorry for Reuben Foster. They know the full story. They know what Foster has overcome. They get why he flunked a drug test at the combine. They get why he got busted with a small amount of marijuana in January. They understand why he had a loaded rifle on his bathroom floor. And they understand how Foster could resume a relationship with a woman who nearly ruined his NFL career with a fabricated story of domestic violence. Oh, I get it. Reuben Foster was born into dysfunction and chaos. His dad accidentally shot him when he was just 18 months old. If there was ever a child in need of saving, it's Reuben Foster. But sometimes you gotta let go and let God do the saving. Sometimes people have to save themselves all by themselves. Sometimes your effort to save someone becomes a crutch that cripples them, that prevents people from learning to walk on their own. I love football because it provides an environment for young men lost in dysfunction to figure a way out. I've seen young men like Foster transform themselves into men of high character and high value, but those young men wanted out of dysfunction more than the people who were trying to help them. The NFL placed Foster on the commissioner's exempt list, meaning he can't practice or attend games for the time being. But Roger Goodell should do more to save the Redskins from themselves. Goodell should ban Foster from football for a year. If Foster can't walk away from his toxic relationship with his accuser, his decision-making isn't good enough to be trusted with the honor of being associated with the NFL. The burden of saving Foster at this point resides first with Foster and then second with the NFLPA. All right, joining the desk now, former NFL quarterback E.J. Manuel, welcome, and a regular contributor to our show, Jim Jackson. Marcellus, I'll start with you.
Yes.
The Redskins made a mistake here trying to save Reuben Foster.
Wow, I don't want this to be adversarial because you had an amazing scope. You really covered a lot in your essay. Let me add a couple of layers and a couple of choice phrases and words you used in there. I think the Redskins did a good thing in hiring Reuben Foster and then putting him on the shelf and letting the dust settle, letting the facts come to the surface, and then making a decision at that point. I respect that process. I don't think the Redskins are providing him a crutch. And even if they are, people don't have to understand what crutches really are. I've been on crutches before. If you don't want to walk, if you don't want to hold yourself up, crutches don't work. So a crutch can help stabilize someone who needs some help, needs some assistance, but still your will is there to work with those crutches. Trust me, grab a set of crutches and don't want to stand up, those crutches won't keep you up. That's one. Two, you said let go and let God, and I respect that. We all know where that comes from. But also in those same holy words is faith without action is death. So guess what? You can believe all you want, but then you got to have some things that are supporting you, that are in the same accord with you, and are trying to actually bring you along to a better place. That faith, I believe in it, but then we got to work on this. If not, we know where that goes. And I don't want this guy to lose his career off of one incident that we all know was reported as fabricated, and this incident where we don't know all the facts. So by shelving a player and we're calling that a second chance, I don't have a problem with the Redskins.
Before we move on to the EJ and Jim, Marcellus, what is your reaction? He has reassociated with the same person who put his career in jeopardy. And down in Tampa is not the first time. There was another incident in Santa Clara where the police were called, and the 49ers didn't find out about this until this arrest in Tampa. And so at the end of the day, when we start talking about let go and let God, he's got to take the right actions at some point. All the people helping him and willing to jump in here and do it or help him do it, they might be getting in the way of him realizing there's some tough decisions he has to make that so far, when you look at his choices with this accuser, he's not willing to make them.
Totally agree there. Look, the 49ers had a conversation with the guy, zero tolerance. And basically, remove yourself from this dynamic and don't get in trouble in any other capacity, we're fine. But remove yourself from this dynamic, because to put everyone through that turmoil to find out it was fabricated was senseless. And I respect exactly what you're saying. But that is his issue. That is his third rail. That is what charges him up to make bad decisions. I'm not saying that's easy surgery, but that is something that I think they're going to narrowly focus on and hopefully eradicate out of his life. He knows the circumstances now. He knows he finally lost his job, and potentially he could have lost his career over this situation. Maybe we'll see a difference in his behavior. Maybe.
Of course. I think the biggest thing that the Redskins need to do is get a supporting cast around Reuben. You know, I obviously don't know who he hangs around. I read that there's about 6 or 7 guys from Alabama that he played with in college that could probably help him. Like, look, man, this is what we need you to do to help us in this football team. Now, it's more so important than just football. It's also about him as a person, too. Like, obviously, we don't want him to, you know, we don't want his career to be over with, but at the same time, the guy continues to make the same mistakes over and over. Obviously, I think it's just really about the supporting cast and people who are around him.
They rallied around him in San Francisco. And the players there, and they're disappointed.
Well, I think being around sports for 20-plus years, I've kind of seen a lot of situations. Basketball, football, baseball, I don't care what it is. From Reuben's perspective, I think getting away from the game to address the issues is the most important thing. Because, one, we already know that the relationship is toxic. Okay, it's like being an alcoholic. You can't keep going into a bar and thinking you're going to stop drinking. It's not going to happen. So something has to be addressed with that relationship first before you can clear out all the mess and come back and play football. Because that has to be addressed, okay? From a Washington perspective, keep in mind, this is a team that loves to operate in PR nightmares, okay? You're talking about Dan Snyder with the Redskins name, logo, and everything, still fought through that. They knew how to get through that. The cheerleading incident, okay? So they're used to operating with the PR moniker above them saying that it's negative. So and at the end of the day, it's a business decision for them. Because if it works out great for the Redskins, in the end, got a top-tier linebacker, got a defensive player that can play, they come out of it. So it's a bunch of different things going on. But as we address Reuben Foster, my thing is this for the young man who's still very young, didn't have that father figure when he was growing up, grew up in a tough environment. He had people around him that he trusted, people that he didn't. He has to address that internal issue with that young lady, okay, personally, before he can ever get back on the field and really be the kind of player that he could be.
And look, I just want to say this about the original fabricated story. When you circle back and you're dealing with that person and then there's another allegation, that makes me question what happened in the first deal. I'm not sure it was a fabricated story now. Now I'm starting to think, did she recant to save his career and that there actually was domestic violence in the first instance? And so everything gets called into question. And look, I'm so much like what the Redskins are trying to do. I will step in and put my captain suit on and try to save people. And what I've come to learn is that if you don't make that person do it themselves, you can't save them. I could sit here and go chapter and verse on some stories and say, and I could have someone come here and testify the greatest thing that I did for a young person that I was really trying to help that came from a tragic situation was I put them out there completely on their own, cut ties with them totally, and that's what shook them up. That's what needs to happen here for Reuben Foster. Football keeps running in and feeling sorry for him, and I get it. He's got a tragic story. I get the sympathy. But at some point, pity don't pay no bills, and this man has to stand on his own 2 feet and make better decisions. And the NFL and the situation they're in from a PR standpoint, if I'm Roger Goodell, if I'm Dan Snyder, and I got respect for Dan Snyder, I just don't put the NFL in these crosshairs with a guy that won't make the simplest decision.
And maybe they don't have to. Jay Gruden just came out and announced that there are no guarantees that Reuben Foster will ever play for the Washington Redskins. No guarantees. So this process is ensuing, and we're going to see what the outcome is in short term. That said, no one knows the answer to what itch does this relationship scratch for Reuben Foster. Based on his upbringing, based on his circumstances, and maybe his detachment from reality in terms of actions and consequences. That is a dynamic that a lot of times you don't understand fully if you grow up with a crutch, if you grow up with something hindering you to understanding that.
Or let me add this one, Marcel. What if you're just so talented that your actions don't create the kind of consequences that are created for a less talented person? This guy's football talent is so huge that Alabama wrapped their arms around him and got him through. The 49ers tried to wrap their arms around him. Now the Redskins are trying to wrap their arms around him, and it's because of the talent. Trust me, if he was less talented, he'd be dealing with these consequences.
Don't make that an NFL-specific conversation, because in any
everywhere.
walk of life,
I mean, across the board. But here's the thing, too. If sometimes you talk about surrounding him with people that he's familiar with, that could be a detriment. Right. Because they're not going to tell you the truth. If Washington really wants to help him, really want to help him sincerely, get him with somebody that doesn't have any influence in regards to understanding his background, knowing him personally. Get somebody that's going to be completely honest with him. Put him in a situation where he's very uncomfortable, okay? He has to be uncomfortable in the situation to let it all out, to let this expression out, these emotions out, because it goes back to his childhood, what's bothering him. Once he can address those issues, now you can start to heal the man. But until you address those issues, EJ, I'm sure you understand it, those issues are still going to be there, and they're going to permeate and continue to come up.
Without a doubt. I think, the best thing the Redskins could do outside of putting him around men that could help him walk the straight line, I think, is getting him into some therapy maybe. Maybe he has some anger issues or something like that he's dealing with. Obviously, he's having a toxic relationship with this woman. We don't know the background. I don't know the background of the relationship. I don't know if they've had children together or how long they've been together, but it just seems like he's continuing to make the same mistakes. And I think the only way that he can really get out of that is obviously himself to make the decision, hey, I'm a young man, but beyond being the football player, I need to make some steps to help myself be a better person.
You know what we never talk about? Like in the pyramid of life and in success, and you're 1 in a million if you make it as a pro athlete, let alone if you're Reuben Foster, went to Alabama and has this promising career. You're even more 1 in 10 million, 1 in 100 million. We never talk about the losers in that conversation, the people who waste that talent, the people who waste those opportunities. And Jimmy, tell me if this is true in your world, but I have seen more talented individuals waste it or not make it than the ones who actually become professionals at it, right? And we all know the same tales, and it's always the same issues. It's the streets got them. Oh, that relationship, you kept chasing it. Drugs, whatever. You're just off course. Too many kids at a young age. Something steered you to be more responsible than you had to be instead of just running the course for success. I would say this, there's no guarantees that Reuben Foster is going to win in this conversation of letting his talent go out there and be example. He may lose in that conversation, but it's worth the second effort, second try.
Right. Listen, I'm all for America's about second, third, fourth, fifth chance.
Yes.
But football and the NFL doesn't have to be the one. You know, there's a church home, perhaps, that could give him a second chance. Certainly there's some people, coaches from high school, junior high. Obviously, his family situation's a bit chaotic. But he's made enough money, and he's old enough that he needs to stand on his own 2 feet and start making some proper decisions, because I don't think he's a guy that can be led. He tested positive before the combine.
Yeah.
He got arrested later in January, just this past January, with marijuana. He's clearly self-medicating.
Yes.
And again, the chaos and dysfunction that he comes from, tragic and would cause you to self-medicate. But I just don't know if football can fix it right now. It's got to come from Reuben Foster. Ever wonder how to get the hottest new sneakers, the ones that barely hit shelves? The answer is StockX, a revolutionary new marketplace for buying and selling 100% authentic sneakers, streetwear, watches, and handbags. Millions are already using StockX to find everything after it sells out. From the latest Yeezys to every retro Jordan to the hottest new streetwear from brands like Supreme, Bape, Palace, and Kith. StockX even allows users to buy and sell pre-owned, excellent condition luxury handbags and watches from brands like Louis Vuitton, Chanel, Gucci, Rolex, Omega, Tudor, and more. StockX gives you access to tons of historical price data so you can see exactly how much an item has sold for in the past and how much it's selling for now. Best of all, StockX has removed all the risk from buying and selling online. They provide total anonymity between buyer and seller. StockX is in the middle, so you never have to deal with the random buyer or seller again. And they have experts who verify every item, making sure everything you buy is 100% authentic. Never get burned by fakes again. Go to StockX.com/speak. StockX. Now you know. All right, welcome back. Time for a big story. Whitlock and Wiley. E.J. Manuel is back, and we're joined now by Steelers legend James Harrison. Let's move to Pittsburgh, where the Steelers took a tough loss to the Broncos Sunday. And by Monday, Ben Roethlisberger was on the radio pointing out the shortcomings of his own team, calling out Antonio Brown's route running, offensive coordinator Randy Fichtner's play calling, and rookie receiver James Washington's hands. Well, today, Big Ben didn't back away from putting his own teammates on blast.
I think that I've earned the right to be able to do that with as long as I've been here. And, and I'll be just as critical on myself as well in front of you guys as well.
What's your approach to how players in the locker room might receive those kind of things? Like, for instance, if you critique a route or something like that.
Go ask them. I have no idea. You'll have to ask them. I would hope that they would understand that as the quarterback and the captain that I have the right to do those things. I don't feel like I abused that situation. So I don't think there's an issue, but you have to ask them.
Big Ben's my favorite player.
Is he?
Yeah, he's crazy.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
Anybody, he looks like John, plays like John Elway, wears number 7. Love Big Ben, but he's crazy.
Yeah.
I've earned the right after I throw the interception that cost us the game. I've earned the right to call out my teammates. This is the head coach's job, and so Big Ben to me always stumbles when he tries to do too much on the field, off the field, whatever. Let Mike Tomlin critique the players if he wants to publicly. They don't need it from Big Ben. I don't think he's earned that right, particularly on a day after you just blew the game with one of the worst interceptions I've ever seen.
He has earned that right. And I think as a veteran player, as a future Hall of Fame player, as a Super Bowl champion, he's certainly earned that right, and captain elected by his same peers. Here's the thing. Coaches are allowed to criticize, but they need enforcers to make sure that their culture is restored. And he's one of the enforcers. He's one of the guys on the front lines making sure that you're doing your job and I'm doing my job. But here's the problem. Here's the rub. I love your eye roll right now. Here's the rub. You are fear-based like many people are in terms of criticism. Most people are scared to truly criticize because they're fearing the U-turn of that criticism coming back to them. So Jason Whitlock says, how dare you criticize Big Ben after throwing an interception? I love Big Ben who pushes past that fence of saying, don't criticize because you're not perfect either. He says, I know it's going to be a day where I'm going to be the one being criticized.
And it was Sunday.
And it was Sunday, and it will be another Sunday coming. But guess what? Still doesn't change the reality of this moment. You need to pick it up. You need to pick it up. Oh, you're pointing back at me? I need to pick it up. And I've seen Big Ben in those moments before who's actually took that heat. So I respect Big Ben who's not fear-based and says, hey, we all got to live by a certain game plan.
I'm 6-6 on this. I don't have a problem with it, but I have a problem because you went out and you publicly said it to the media. I had a situation where I had said some things to a media person, and it ended up getting out. And I apologize for that because I shouldn't have spoke to that person about family business so, openly to him. Like you said, it's going to be a point in time where it's going to be, that was my fault. I'm going to have to take, charge of that. But I don't feel like I should be the player saying, oh, hey, Ben, you threw 2-3 picks. I shouldn't be that guy saying that. And if I am that guy saying that, that should be something I should say to him behind closed doors. Like I said, at the same time, he did earn that right. He doesn't abuse that right, like you said. But it's a hard thing to swallow when you have players such as, Antonio Brown, who is playing, at the top of his game, and you're saying you're criticizing me about one little route that was, I didn't run it right, but at the same time, the DB had undercut it, and if the D lineman didn't get it, the DB might have. So it's kind of hard when, like I said, I'm 6-6 on it.
Yeah, but who's to say that he didn't talk to Antonio first? Private matters, a lot of times when you go to the media, hey, we already broke this down. Why
does he need to go to the media with it if you talk to him one-on-one?
Because you old school. Like, y'all keep saying family business. The family model that we all grew up in is not the family model that exists today currently. The family model now is a reality show. Cameras already in there. Instagram and live and my coach talking. 24/7 access. This is not airing out.
That was one incident.
Exactly.
We all know what you're talking about, but that was only one incident.
This is not airing out dirty laundry. It's a new day. You got to get with these new times.
As a quarterback, especially Big Ben is one of the best. I'm a huge Big Ben fan as well. I've been watching him since I was a kid, so he definitely has earned that right time and time again to be able to say what he wants to any of his teammates, and honestly to any of his coaches. Of course, I know Mike T from back in Virginia, but I think Big Ben did right. I think as a quarterback, you have to be able to say, hey, man, I need you to do this on this route, and hey, I need you to pick it up on this play. But at the same time, I think he's owned up to all of his own mistakes as well. There's been plenty of times where Ben has thrown 3 or 4 interceptions and has done it the same way and looked at the media right in the eye and said, hey, that's on me. I need to fix my game as well.
He just threw an interception to a defensive tackle on the goal line when the wide receivers covered. And afterward, it was the flukiest play, luckiest thing that ever happened. He didn't take any ownership or accountability for that. Look, man, the guy played the Mid-American Conference. Love him. Plays like John Elway. Love him. The guy is not accountable. He's part of the problem. He's part of the reason to me.
You can't say he's not accountable. Like you said, there's plenty of times that he stepped to that podium and said, you know what, that's on me. Right. I've heard that plenty of times.
Yeah.
So you can't say he's not accountable. I think the issue is that loss, you feel like everyone is taking it as a nonchalant, oh, yeah, I threw a pick, it was an interception, we lost. Nobody really expected to lose to them, so the fact that they played horrible and lost is not a surprise to them. They're going to come back, they're going to play against Chargers, and you're going to see a totally different team.
And I want to empower you as my teammate that when you mess up, and then I follow that up with a mess up, please come at me with the criticism. Don't sit there and sulk in your sorrows. Oh, you know what? I messed up, so I can't really tell Marcellus anything right now. That's not how you build. That's not how you get better. Big Ben is saying, look, there is a standard here. When I don't live up to it, come at me. But when you don't live up to it, I'm coming at you. It's just simple.
All right, welcome back. E.J. Manuel, James Harrison are back. You all know Marcellus is that dude. Now he's going to show us the best plays from big guys around football. It's time for Dat Dude's Dudes. Marcellus, what you got?
Give some shine, some love to the big uglies out there. Not just Whitlock, not just me, but the big uglies in the trenches. Let's get to Dat Dude's Dudes. And let's start this off with our third Dat Dude's Dudes, Vanderbilt's linebacker, Josh Smith. Just take what they give you. I know I should have put a little more sauce on that title, but he has to take what they give him. You can see him lined up right now. 2-point stand, Josh Smith. Okay, got that linebacker speed. Oh, but what happens here? Watch the footwork. Trying to do a speed rush with me, just standing in place, but it actually is to his advantage. Getting his feet caught up under him. The tackle sets a little too wide. Now you see that opening on the inside. What you got to do now, you see him trying to go through the arm and rip through it because he sees that opening. Oh, my goodness. Now, as offensive tackle, you're trying to push him by, but a little too late. And this is the worst position to ever be in as offensive tackle. Which one of y'all gonna sack your quarterback? He looks like he gonna sack the quarterback, but Josh Smith beats you to the punch. Number 3, that dude of the week. Let's get to number 2. Cardinals defensive tackle Robert Nkemdiche. Oh, the shape of water. I'm in love with this play right here. Even though it happened against my LA Chargers, you see him going to Phillip Rivers, taking them down. Oh, and play that funky music, Black. I ain't saying the rest. All right. Now we lined up in 3 technique, Robert Nkemdiche. Watch this butt and bench. Bow! That's old school football right there. Butt him, shock him, and what happens when you shock him? Oh, look at that left arm. Not a punch. That's on the outside. So Nkemdiche is now saying, the path of least resistance is actually to the inside. Look at that. I saw that tight end come in there. But now he is going to go out there and use the law of accommodation. Bruce Lee, help.
Empty your mind. Be formless, shapeless, like water. Now you put water into a cup. It becomes the cup. You put water into a bottle, it becomes the bottle. You put it in a teapot, it becomes the teapot. Now water can flow or it can crash. Be water, my friend.
Oh, he's going to become water. Look at this law of accommodation. Look at that dead arm. He just let his arm go. He said, oh, you want to push against me? You want to show resistance? Nothing's there. It's called the dead arm. Old technique right there. Robert Nkemdiche finishes out, makes Bruce Lee proud. 3rd. Number 2, that dude of the week. Now let's...
Water, one of the worst movies I've ever seen.
Man, I ain't talking to you right now. Number 1, Ravens DN, Matthew Judon. Hitting him with that triple sec. Ooh, nice inside move right there. I see James Harrison up here shaking, loving that move right there. And you're going to see how he gets this handle as he takes off into the tunnel. You see right now, that offensive tackle, poor you, he's given up 2 sacks in a row already. So he's thinking, oh, man, I got to really commit to this one. I can't give up 3 sacks in a row, can I? Oh, yes, you can. Do you not recognize that right arm is on the outside? Do you not recognize with your punch, which looks great, his body, his lower legs are not going around the hoop. They're going through you. That's a setup. Now he puts that left leg in the ground and watch that right arm turn into a claw. I have set you up for the inside move, and now there's no recovering, as you can see. My man Parker's trying his best to recover, but there's no way you're going to back block me. I am at Derek Carr, and now it's time for bobblehead. Landed on the ground, head gone, and Matthew Judon didn't know what play it was, just sack after sack after sack. Took off to the tunnel, but brother, it's 3rd down. He out there dapping his boys up. Number 1, that dude of the week. My man, Matthew Judon.
That was awesome. All right, let's move to New York, where much of the blame for the Giants' failed season has fallen on Eli Manning and head coach Pat Shermer. But after Odell Beckham Jr. called out the team's game plan following their loss to the Eagles, sports talk radio legend Mike Francesa says the Giants need to move on from the wide receiver they just paid $95 million. Listen, man, I don't know. Mike Francesa, I guess, needed to make some news and screaming and shouting, hey, let's move on from Odell. Man, they just gave the guy $100 million, and they knew what they were giving him the money for. They knew Odell's going to stay in the news to some degree. And if all he's doing is talking a little smack about play calling, that's light for Odell. Yeah. He ain't kissing no kicking nets. He ain't down on some yacht partying before no game.
Right.
You know, this is standard Odell.
Yeah, I didn't understand this one. I was like, why are you going in on Odell? It's not by production. If you really want to go in on someone, we know who that is. We know the elephant in the room. It's Eli Manning. It's the offensive philosophy, even though Eli's played better of late. Odell is on pace of having a career year. Depends on how he finishes off, but it doesn't feel like the same sizzle, the same sauce is on this season. But by the numbers, Odell out there getting it, already over 1,000 yards after his 11th game. So respect to Odell, but look, he's a multiple offender of misdemeanors, kissing nets, as you said, all the stuff he's done. But I don't see this guy as a distraction. I don't
Oh,
see
then
him.
he's a distraction.
He's not. Hold on.
He's a distraction.
Distraction in terms of I'm taking us off course or I'm trying to put us on course. Right. To me, he's the attraction, not the distraction.
Nah, I 100% agree. I think Odell has every right, once again, going back to the right piece, to say what he wants to say. I think Odell's obviously the franchise guy along with Eli Manning, but he wants the ball. How can this guy get upset for Odell speaking his mind about wanting the ball and wanting to help his team win? I don't understand that. Like, what does he want him to say? Nah, shy away from the opportunity to make big plays. Like, he wants the ball. That's what receivers do. That's what the greats have done. T.O., Keyshawn Johnson, hundreds of guys, Randy Moss, they want the ball.
Because he got exactly what we're doing right now, which is talking about him talking about Odell.
Right.
That's the only thing that he accomplished. Odell can't go out there and throw himself the ball, block for everybody, and go out there and score touchdowns doing everything by himself. They paid him to go out there. And like you said, look at the numbers. The numbers speak for themselves. And they're not even winning those games right now. Think if that they went out there and got an offensive line that could block, a quarterback to get it to him when he needed to get it to him.
Man.
Woo. Then they'd be talking about we got a great deal.
Right.
Let's be clear, man. Because I think if the show continues, every NFL player has earned the right to do whatever the hell they want. The way this is said.
Y'all
Does anybody just have to shut up and do their job?
Hold on. It's a production-based business.
He's pointing out something that was obvious. Like, that's something that, hey, I feel like if we had did this, we would have had a better chance of winning. Right?
Well, first of all, I think he was uninformed, and Pat Shermer pointed out, hey, go look at the film. Look at how many chunk plays we had. We did, to the best of our ability, exploit the weaknesses in the defense. Odell sometimes is just running his mouth. This is, again, I'm not sitting here calling for you got to move on from him because of this. This is Odell being Odell. He is a distraction. They signed up for that distraction because they think the production justifies it. Y'all think
y'all?
If that's the biggest distraction, then yeah, you can take it with that production.
Odell did his homework. I don't know, Pat Shermer did his homework, but as much as you pointed out, Coach, you could have pointed out more of us exploiting that pass defense. 28th ranked. I'm Odell Beckham, setting NFL records in my young career, and you're going to get me against the 28th ranked pass defense and I catch 5 passes? Like, I just need more targets. There's a way to shut Odell up, and it's not based on his production.
Just giving him the ball. Yeah, I get it.
And doesn't that work for them? If they get Odell the ball.
What if they won with Odell?
Oh, don't do that championship.
No, I'm just asking. What did they want with Odell?
Odell's not the reason they haven't won.
He wet the bed in the playoffs when they got there because he was damn partying on a yacht and everything. He is a distraction.
That yacht was that day,
He didn't wet the bed. He didn't wet the bed that playoff game and drop all them balls.
He did drop some balls. Yeah. But he also dropped balls without going on yachts before. I've seen him do that too. So what you gonna do? Is it coincidence or is it causation? Is it correlation or what?
All I'm saying is
everybody want to point to something when something don't go right.
Exactly.
And Whitlock's the king of that.
You've earned the right. Have you earned the right to say that? Everybody's earned the right to say whatever they want.
Everybody ain't earned the right to say what they want. But to that point, I earned the right to say whatever I want.
Yeah, James Harrison has. James Harrison has. I had moments. He always could. Yeah, for real.
I'm Jason Whitlock. He's Marcellus Wiley. EJ Manuel's here. It's time to put on our thinking caps. As you all know, I'm a journalist, and we've got our resident Ivy Leaguer over here, Marcellus.
Yes, thank you very much.
Who likes to pretend he's smarter than everybody else.
A little bit.
No, EJ, you went to Free Shoes University, right?
Wow, the disrespect. The disrespect.
Prop 48U.
The Florida State University, sir. Yes, sir.
Steve
Yes, sir.
Spurrier, I think, called it Free Shoes
Wow.
University. All right, Darnell, bring on the hat for Marcellus.
Oh, look at this.
Sorry you got to put up with this, EJ, but he did go to an Ivy League school. We got to give it up.
I've earned the right. I've earned.
Respect to that.
You know what? This is the one thing you've earned. Yeah, to be considered smart, you have
Right,
earned that.
exactly.
Finally.
Considered. Considered.
Considered.
All right, let's move to one of the touchiest conversations in sports, race, which we can't seem to escape it, especially when it comes to the NFL and quarterbacks. This week on the ESPN's Undefeated, writer William C. Roden claimed that Baker Mayfield disrespected Hugh Jackson because Mayfield struggled playing for a black head coach. Roden wrote, as I watched Mayfield speak Monday, I wondered how often he had come into contact with black men in positions of authority. Mayfield's high school coach was white. His head coaches at Texas Tech and Oklahoma were white. Yes, Mayfield was a 13-year-old growing up in Texas when Barack Obama was elected president. So the concept of black leadership was not foreign, but having a black president is one thing, having a black boss is something else. Wow. Also this week, the conversation around Lamar Jackson got a bit more racialized, if that's possible. Jackson's teammate Jimmy Smith said, any black quarterback, especially with that type of speed, will get labeled that he can't throw, but he can throw. All right, with Patrick Mahomes, Deshaun Watson, Russell Wilson, Cam Newton, and Dak Prescott all leading playoff contenders, and touchdown Tua and Kyler Murray leading the Heisman race in college football, gentlemen, is it time to acknowledge the racialized conversation about quarterbacks might be a little outdated? And I say that, and I've raised the question because it would almost be the equivalent. There was a time in basketball where black men weren't dominant in the sport, and we were ostracized and kept out of basketball. There was a time in boxing where the heavyweight champion could not be black. And then all of a sudden, Jack Johnson came along, Joe Louis came along, Muhammad Ali, and it just, people, you don't talk about race in that regard when it comes to boxing. You don't do it in basketball. I think by racializing every conversation about the quarterback, it's like we're not acknowledging we're in the heyday of black quarterbacks. The absolute things are good. If you can play quarterback and you're black, there's a college that will recruit you, and there's an NFL team that will draft you. I think to some degree we're focusing way too much on the negative and not acknowledging the real progress that has gone along, and we just keep looking for, something's going on with Lamar Jackson, it must be race. Josh Allen has been called trash by an NFL player, a black NFL player. Josh Allen did virtually the same thing last week as Lamar Jackson. Won a game, ran the ball, completed about half his passes. There's no conversation about Josh Allen and how he's being treated or mistreated or anything. Is this conversation a bit outdated?
It's not outdated. I respect your sentiments, and I understand what you're talking about. First, you have to define what's the goal of the conversation in the first place. And when did the conversation start? It started before I played football. It started in the 70s and 80s. You go Shaq Harris, you go to Warren Moon. And great distance has traveled from the days where they told Warren Moon, a Hall of Fame NFL quarterback, you can't play quarterback. You have to play defensive back, or you get extradited. You get sent to the Canadian Football League to prove that you can play the quarterback position, which is known for its leadership, which is known for its field generalship, and is known for its accuracy and its mental acumen as much as physical skill. And he proved that. So we have traveled great distance from that conversation, but we haven't hit the promised land. We haven't hit the goal. You know why? Because there's still moments when you let your hand off the wheel, because I agree with you. I do not like to steer conversations based on race, especially even at the quarterback position. I don't want to steer it there. But whenever I take my hand off the wheel and see where this conversation will go, where this landscape will take me, it always takes me to certain places, and I give you Exhibit A. Exhibit A is one Lamar Jackson, as you talk about, Heisman Trophy winner, and then follow that up with a couple of losses as a team, but a better performance as a quarterback in his last 2 seasons at Louisville. And let's contrast that with a Ryan Tannehill, who's a white quarterback, who in his last 2 seasons, let's just look at the numbers. Only number I see that's greater is completion percentage, which matters. Let's say that. But 2-to-1 pass, touchdowns to interceptions versus 3-to-1. Rushing yards, rushing touchdowns. A Heisman Trophy winner versus the guy who was forced to play quarterback from being a receiver. And I just want to remind everyone in the world, their draft position. One was drafted 8th overall when Andrew Luck was even in that draft, and one was reached for as the 32nd last pick in the first round. Now, when I let my hand off the wheel and then I see moments like that, I hear Bill Polian come out with comments telling me that Heisman Trophy winner needs to play receiver and not quarterback. When you have those moments continue to occur, Whitlock, I hate to say it, but it makes me want to grab the wheel again.
Before you go, EJ, you're talking about conversation.
Yeah.
And to me, a lot of times conversation is irrelevant. I'm talking about actions. And so whatever the conversation is about Tannehill, Lamar Jackson, got drafted. Kyler Murray is going to get drafted high or get drafted. Tua is going to get drafted high. Black quarterbacks are going to get drafted. A conversation, people talk and say all kinds of things. What are the actions the NFL and college football are taking?
Whitlock, those conversations lead to the actions where one is drafted 8 and one is drafted 32, when 32 had a greater resume and had greater potential.
Went at the heart of it. They make all kinds of mistakes in the draft.
I get it, but you know what? This was not motivated by resume. This was not motivated by...
It wasn't motivated by race either.
All I'm saying is the normalization of the black quarterback. Let's say the black normal quarterback has more adversity and hurdles than the white quarterback. And then even when you're a greater black quarterback, you still may be disrespected more than a receiver transferred to play quarterback. That's
conversation.
Crazy.
I care less about the conversation.
Yeah, I think it just goes down to the leash is much shorter for a black quarterback versus our counterparts, period. Now, I think if Lamar had went out there, threw 4 or 5 interceptions, they lost the game. Thank God they went out there. They went 2-0 the past 2 weeks that he started. He's thrown the ball well. He's been efficient. He's made great decisions. I think he's had some interceptions, but everybody does. I think the league isn't used to seeing a Lamar Jackson. I think he's the second coming of Michael Vick. You don't see that kind of, athleticism, accuracy, like the size, everything all combined into one. So they can say what they want to say about him, but he's a quarterback, period. I remember when he was coming out for the draft, guys asked me, do you think he can play quarterback? Of course he can. He's doing that at a high level in college, just like most other quarterbacks, Andrew Luck,
I want to be
everybody.
1,000% real with you. Lamar Jackson's not Cam Newton. He's not Deshaun Watson. Those are great athletic quarterbacks who are very accurate throwers, particularly Deshaun and in Cam we've seen this year.
Okay.
Lamar Jackson's a project.
For sure.
There's no
Lamar
question
Jackson's
about
also
it.
a rookie too, though.
But he's a project.
He's a project, yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, there's tons of projects in the league. There's guys that go from playing receiver in college and they become great defensive backs. Richard Sherman, prime example. So
Ryan Tannehill was a project.
Yeah, he was a receiver that played quarterback. Yeah, exactly.
Without being a Heisman Trophy winner.
Exactly.
Tell me about that project.
Again, but again, you can't take little individual things and say, well, because this happened with Ryan Tannehill, it says everything about the league. It says something about the Miami Dolphins and how they evaluated the quarterback position. That's all it says.
He was evaluated as the 3rd best talent in that draft.
By who? Mel Kiper?
Whoever does the evaluation, and there's several people, but not to focus it so narrowly on these individuals.
The same people did the evaluated Jamarcus Russell as the best quarterback in the league.
Exactly.
The draft is inexact. They make mistakes. It's not, in this day and age, though, right now, because there's so much money to be made.
Yes.
And people just want to win and make money. Race at the quarterback position is far less important than all the conversation we give it. If we want to talk about the executive level and who's making decisions from the general manager's chair or even the head coaching chair, I get it. The case hasn't been decided there. But as it relates to the quarterback thing, are y'all looking? There's not a black quarterback in the league right now with a losing record.
You just agreed with me because you just said it's far less important. Respect. I said we have traveled great distance, but have we hit the destination? No, we haven't, Whitlock.
I know, but you said when you take your hands off the wheel, the conversation changes. What I'm saying and what the NFL would say is the actions don't change. You can take your hand off the wheel, and I'm going to draft whoever I think can help me win because I want to get this money. And I don't care whether he's black, white, green, from Hawaiian, whatever. That's what they're going to do.
And you went to my second part of the conversation, which was the normalization. So, look, I walk around benefiting from this same mental dynamic in my world. Marcellus Wiley, black Ivy Leaguer. I am around a lot of white Ivy Leaguers. There's no wow factor when you see a white Ivy Leaguer. It's just like, oh yeah, he went to Columbia. When you see me, they're like, what? I mean, I'm on the airplane every other week hearing people say, what? You went to not? You know why? That's fine. I take that love. I take that respect. But the normal black academic, let's talk about this. The normal black quarterback is going to face more adversity because you're over here prompting up and propping up the outliers. And then you hear Bill Polian will attack a guy who has a resume, has shown he can play the position, and tell him to switch. Look, come on now.
Look, everybody has an opinion. There's people that hated my opinion on Tim Tebow. I felt like shouldn't have been drafted at 17 or wherever he was, shouldn't have been the start. People hated that. But Marcellus, what I'm saying right now is I just don't think people are sitting around going, oh my God, there's a black quarterback doing well. Because they're all doing well. We could run down the list.
But they are sitting there when they mess up. Superintendent around Houston, Deshaun Watson.
Has no impact.
Oh, I'm just saying.
He has no. It's just a conversation. People say dumb things. I do. You do.
Yes.
Bill Polian
and that's
does.
reflective of mindset, which turns into action. That's how it goes. Thoughts, words, actions, brother. That's the continuum of life.
And I agree. And the mindset in boxing used to be couldn't have a black champion.
Yeah.
And people figured it out like, oh, yes, you can.
Yeah.
Mindset, you couldn't have a black basketball player, too many black players on the basketball team. The mindset changed. We're there now at the quarterback position.
We're there?
Yeah.
I think we're getting closer to it.
We're definitely
But
closer.
we ain't there, brother. It's too many quarterbacks right now, the high school, collegiate level, who are sitting there saying, they get into the lines, it's by position groups, and they're saying, that skill set, man. You sure you don't want to play receiver? You sure? Like, That's not the conversation. The only white player that I know that actually was told, drop the ball as a quarterback and play a skill position was Matt Jones. My teammate who went to Arkansas, and they said, 6'6", 240, run a 4.3, that's a receiver. And he's an outlier for his position and by his circumstance, but it doesn't happen as much as it does for black players.
EJ, let me ask you this. You said off top that they have a shorter leash. Lamar Jackson's in the second, third. You used him as an example.
Right.
I don't think his leash is very short at all. I think the organization is going to give him plenty of time to succeed or fail.
Of course. And I wasn't maybe I used him as the wrong example, but I just meant it as if Lamar had went out there and played bad, I think it would have been the end of the world. We would be talking about completely different conversation right now. You know what I mean?
There are
That's
a
what I
lot
meant
of
by it.
people like myself that don't think Lamar as a quarterback has played well yet.
I agree.
Has not played, and particularly last week, the 2 interceptions were atrocious. He's pushing the ball downfield, not throwing it. It's been nice that he's won.
Of course.
But again, Lamar has not set the world on fire.
Of course. And I mean, like I said, this will be his third start in his career. You know, at the end of the day, a quarterback is judged on wins and losses, period. Obviously, we get judged on completions, completion percentage, QBR, that kind of stuff. Those are like fancy stats. But to me, at the end of the day, you're judged on how many games you can win, how you lead the men that are following you, and all those types of things. And obviously, his teammates are rallying around him, which is also very important. So the guys that are on his offense, I know Michael Crabtree personally. He's going to go out there and play hard for Lamar. Those guys are going to try to make plays for him.
But
Marcellus,
EJ,
I want to make one point
and
to
I
you
want
as
to
a
make one
father.
point to you.
I want to make one point to you as a father. You got a young son.
Little man.
The world is gonna be an oyster out there for him to go grab.
You're going to eat it, too.
Right, and again, what I want you to be telling your son, look at all this opportunity out there. Oh, my God. You see what Dak and Deshaun and Patrick Mahomes are doing? You can do it all. And instead, I think sometimes we cripple our kids. Oh, man, the world's rigged against you. Oh, there's so much that's going to happen. They're not going to let you do this. They're not going to let you do that. And if we just focused on the opportunity, we'd be amazed. Our kids will run out there and go get it.
You know what? I respect that, but I always have to balance the equation and be real. The consequences are greater for you, young black son. Let me tell you the truth. You said this yesterday. You weren't here, EJ. I will bring it up and let you answer your own conversation. You said Lamar Jackson, they need to protect you from going out there getting exposed, losing confidence, because they can wash hands. They'll wash their hands from you at the end of this year. And they're going to have a new head coach more than likely, right? And you said Ozzie Newsome's gone, right? Now, I just asked you, Jason Whitlock, if he weren't Lamar Jackson, the black quarterback, would that be the same thing they're saying about Josh Allen, if he was having the same struggles, or any other project, Ryan Tannehill, who got a second contract? I just don't hear the consequences the same for the white experiment as it is for the black project.
Listen, if Josh Allen were going to be playing for a new general manager and a new head coach next year, hell yes, they could wash their hands of him. It happens all the time.
1 year.
Absolutely. Right. If a new coach, new general manager that aren't attached to you, they didn't
Blake
draft
Bortles still getting this thing going, but you tell me the consequences are the same. Okay. EJ, what you got a game this weekend?
I don't. I do
That's
not.
my point. That's my point.
Marcellus, we're going to end on this point.
No, we got to go. You ain't going to win. He going to win and then end.
No. Listen.
What?
You know I grew up with Jeff George.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Got much talent as anybody.
Beyond that arm talent.
Right.
Insane.
And when he still had talent, the league washed their hands of him. We don't believe, we done. And there were 3 or 4 years where he was clearly more talented than a lot of guys in the NFL. But the league moved on. It happened.
Oh, they will move on, but there'll be strike 4, strike 5, strike 6.
All right, welcome back to the show, Whitlock and Wiley. We're joined now by Fox NBA analyst Jim Jackson and Kenyon Martin. Let's move to the association, where the Lakers got embarrassed last night by the Nuggets, 117-85, and LeBron James had his worst game of the year, scoring just 14 points and going 5 of 15 from the field. The Lakers have now lost 2 in a row, and as Brian Windhorst points out in a new article, it hasn't taken long for LeBron to change his approach after LA's up and down start to the year. Writing, quote, "When James came to the Lakers, he relished the idea of being able to play off the ball more, to use his post-up skills and to generally expend less energy. But as those who have been around James over the years will tell you, there is the July version of James when he's sitting on a couch with a glass of wine and talking basketball philosophy. And there's the mid-season version of James who wants to win above all else and trust himself above all others to make it happen. As is typical, the latter has been showing itself." Listen, there's a question about whether LeBron should adjust his style. And I don't think he should, because I don't think he can. He plays one style of basketball with the ball in his hand. And anybody that made plans for him to play a different way, including LeBron James, is delusional.
I agree with you. This was expected. Anybody who's watching basketball, watching LeBron and his greatness, knows that in part of him being so cohesive with his teammates is I'm dictating terms as well. That's how it goes. Like, we're interdependent because y'all depended on me. That's how it is. The crazy thing is, I won't say names, but I'm not a Laker hater. I just like poking at them because, I mean, they got 16 championships. Like, you can really say nothing to them that should hurt their feelings, but it's easy to hurt their feelings. So I poke at them. Went to dinner one time with one of these current Lakers, and he said, "Man, it's hard playing with LeBron." I said, "For real, why?" He's like, "Because you catch yourself at times just staring at him in his greatness. Then you catch yourself at times trying to do what the play is, but he can buck the play. And then when he bucks the play, he doesn't get reprimanded. But then when we buck the play, because we're like, yo, it's an opportunity here, so then they like, all right, so then everyone's off game and off chemistry. So until they get to that place of unspoken language where we just all feed off each other in that chemistry, it's going to be a struggle."
It's always going to be a struggle when you play against LeBron, but you got to go back. Think about this. LeBron in his high school career really didn't post up. He always had the ball in his hands. When he got to Cleveland early on, always had the ball in his hands. Miami, the same thing. Now, his second year in Miami, he posted up a little bit more, but kind of got away from it. He is who he is. He's not going to change. And the Laker organization, along with Miami, along with Cleveland, they're going to put people around him that fit how he plays, no matter what. They have a short window of opportunity to try to win the title here. So it's two things going on. How do we build a team to win a championship, but how do we get another player in here that can carry on a legacy post-LeBron? So it's two business decisions that the Lakers have to make. And when you're playing with LeBron as a team, listen, let me tell you something. You got to adjust to how Jordan played. You had to adjust to how Kobe played. Certain guys, I don't care what you do, they have their own thing, and everybody else has to make an adjustment. And this Laker team have to adjust to, one, new roles, but also when they play against other teams, guys are coming at their neck a lot harder. The expectations are different than they were last year, Kenyon.
Yeah, definitely. No, it's just when LeBron is on the floor, like you said, he can't play any other way. That was my whole thing about him coming to the Lakers and other situations where he's going to stunt those guys' growth. You're spending high lottery picks on Ingram and Ball and those guys, and their best attribute is playmaking. And you take that away from them when you put LeBron into that equation. So in this situation, I'm not surprised that it's taken whatever games LeBron to be like, okay, this is where we need to play, because it was the inevitable. It was going to go that way because when he's on the floor, he's been the most dominant basketball player of the last 14, 15 years.
I'm having a tough read at the beginning of the season. One breath, I'm like, they're underachieving. One breath, I'm like, no, this is okay for a new situation and them presenting themselves to each other, figuring it out. Where are you guys on that? Are they underachieving? Or this is
At this time last year, I think they were 8-12. They're 11-11 now. So how much of that is improvement? You see what I'm saying? But keep in mind this. Brandon Ingram is the kind of guy that needs to have the ball.
Definitely.
Okay? Kyle Kuzma and Josh Hart fit perfect with LeBron because they can move, they can spot up, they can do things. Yeah. So that's the question they're going to have to ask in regards to
Lonzo.
Well, Lonzo
Same way.
But
He's a playmaker.
I think Lonzo's a playmaker that can benefit LeBron in the long run, okay, because he's willing to give up the basketball.
Yes.
But the question with Ingram is he going to be our long-term person that can carry a load along with LeBron? And he's being impacted more than anybody because he doesn't have the ball as much.
Poor Brandon Ingram. First year you get Kobe on his farewell tour. You're like, all right, next year I'm going to do my thing. He did his thing, and then LeBron shows up. Now he trade bait, man. Like Brandon Ingram can't find which way up.
Yeah, man, I just think it's a tough situation all around. You know, when you put it, like I said, when you put LeBron into that, either you're going to confirm or we're going to move you on. And I think those guys, like, great talent. But each situation, like you said, Jim, each situation he's been in, LeBron has been in, they've put talent around to fit his greatest attribute, which is playmaking. But now you put those guys that need the ball, that need to be successful, have the ball to be successful. Now they kind of look bad. You know what I'm saying? So now they're 11-11 now. You said it was 8-12 last year at this time. But I think people look at it as underachieving because you expect if you have LeBron James on your roster,
Right.
hey, you're supposed to be top 3, top 2 in the conference.
Or number 1 like the Clippers. Something.
Hold up. You still want to put something on that?
I do.
It was on. I know
he would have put something on my belt.
I slept on it. I'm a man.
Listen, before the Clip joint making to this conversation, I knew it was going to be.
His wife's here. He's going to get over it. I done forgot my
Me too, but I got a bestseller.
We're here for our favorite segment of the show, Antisocial.
do
Our
this.
social media manager, Darnell Smith, here to tell us what's popping on them Twitter
What's
streets.
crack-a-lagging out there, homie?
What's happening on the internet, Darnell?
Man, they've been clowning this week. We'll start with Jerry Jones.
What'd he say?
Who's always in the headlines, this time for saying that the Cowboys should approach tomorrow's Thursday night matchup on Fox against the Saints like it's the Super Bowl. Twitter clowned Jerry for this mindset, with one guy giving him the LMAO. Cowboys legit said this is their Super Bowl. I don't have a problem with this personally. This is a typical coach just saying, treat every play like it's your last. You think this is a bad mindset to have?
I don't like it.
I don't like it either, man.
What?
It is a typical coach. Not the great coaches wouldn't do this. John Wooden, as I quote, he said, to win the big games, do all the little things and don't make it bigger than it is. And that's what you have to do. Go out there fully motivated every time. One, you can't lie to yourself. And two, look, I know after this game we got another game to play. This is not the Super Bowl where it's off-season after that. So just a bad culture to set.
I get where Jerry's coming from, but it's the wrong thing to do. Jerry feels like he's created something that no one's giving him credit for, and he's so excited. And this game is if we beat the Saints, everybody's going to realize I'm a genius.
Yep.
And there's too much pressure on his players, though. I wouldn't do this to Dak Prescott or any of these guys.
Yeah, bad
Wrong
luck,
move.
Jerry. Come on,
What's
Jerry.
next, Darnell?
Do better, Jerry.
All right, so did y'all watch my boy Zion play last night?
Oh, yeah.
Balled out again, 25 points, 6 boards, 4 assists, leading Duke to a big win over IU.
Romeo Langford for IU.
Yes,
Anyway,
sir.
Go ahead.
Respect.
Yep. Twitter's
Orange
always
Sister,
buzzing, you know, whenever Zion plays. I mean, the dude looks like Shaq playing against Marcellus on the court.
Leave that alone.
Our buddy Doug Godley even got in the hype train saying Zion will be #1 pick, unicorn. Definitely concerns about his weight, needs to shoot it better, but he is a unicorn. All right, look, Zion's great, but every year it's something else. Last year was Trae Young. Year before that was Lonzo. Do we need to pump the brakes on Zion?
First of all, I'm going to call Doug after the show and explain to him what a unicorn is.
Yeah.
Unicorns are flawless.
Yes.
Well, there's concerns about his weight, concerns about his shot, but a unicorn. You can't be a unicorn if you flawed.
Yeah.
You know, I'm a unicorn, Doug. Not Zion Williams.
You ain't no unicorn. You're right, by pure definition, that's not a unicorn.
Yeah.
Start beating it up as soon as you do. It's a nice horse. Zion is a unicorn, man. Look, say what you want, and there hasn't been too many of these guys going through the draft. LeBron James, this is what
I ain't going LeBron James.
I'm talking about body type. I'm talking about what you can do with physics. What doctors always tell, it's so funny, you go to the doctor's office, you got a young kid, I got a 3-year-old, and then someone else brings their 3-year-old in there, and you can just see the doctor shaking their head like, that kid ain't got a chance. Why? You can't out-train DNA, man. You can't out-train genetics. Whatever he stood in line in heaven with the talent, he just kept getting back in line. It kept getting back in line. This dude is going to be amazing. He's going to shock everybody because he's going to continue at the next level.
All right, Darnell, last but not least.
Yeah, man, watching Fair Game yesterday. They had JaVale McGee on, and he was talking about the criticism Shaq gave on, on Shaq and the Fool and how it jeopardized his career a little bit. So take a listen.
I'm not the person that's like reading comments like, oh my God, I can't believe this, because I really don't care. It's when a GM or owner of a team starts thinking that and they're like, no, we don't want to sign them, because that's now affecting my livelihood and how I pay my bills and how I feed my family. So that's when I was just like, it's the last straw. Like,
I'm gonna be real. I think he's being a little too sensitive here. What y'all think, though?
I disagree, and I love Shaquille O'Neal. Shaquille can play too rough sometimes. Again, he's a big guy that doesn't know his own strength. He played a little too rough with a guy whose career was in the early process of blossoming, and Shaq was kind of making a fool out of him. I get where JaVale's coming from.
Yeah, Shaq will go there. I asked Barkley every 3-4 months that whole no ring conversation comes up, and Shaq just loses it. Look, every joke has some lace of seriousness in there, some lace of reality, right? But it has to keep its proper balance. I think in this situation, it got out of balance, and it did jeopardize the perception of him, which was unfortunate because he's a better player, and he's finally in a position where he's showing that because he's getting the minutes and he's in a situation that allows it.
This Shaq reminds me of me when I was a little kid. My cousin, everybody be over, we'd be playing rough, and I would sit on somebody.
Oh, man.
And my mom would be like, Jason, you can't do that.
Boy, get off your cousin.
You can't do that. All right, welcome back to the show. Uncle Jimmy's here to help us talk about our approval rating for Odell Beckham Jr. Uncle Jimmy, where you off to today?
What you mean where I'm off to?
Yeah.
I'm off to let LA know everything, find out what Kansas City been doing.
What's that?
Hey, boy, Uncle Jimmy got some of the best weenie going around. You understand what I'm saying?
You got the best what?
I got the best weenies in town.
All right, let's move.
Hot links, huh?
Let's see a highlight from our discussion earlier
We fired.
about Odell Beckham Jr.
That's
Please.
it, I'm done.
Man, they just gave the guy $100 million, and they knew what they were giving him the money for. They knew Odell's going to stay in the news to some degree. And if all he's doing is talking a little smack about play calling, that's light for Odell.
We know the elephant in the room. It's Eli Manning. It's the offensive philosophy, even though Eli's played better of late. Odell is on pace of having a career year. Depends on how he finishes off. To me, he's the attraction, not the distraction.
All right, that was a highlight from our conversation earlier about Odell.
Highlight.
Do we think the Giants will regret giving Odell a long-term contract? Uncle Jimmy, what's your take?
Well, my take is real simple. Who cares? Maybe who give a damn? Goody, that's what the hell they get. You understand what I'm saying? Because they got exactly what the hell they paid for. Didn't they? They got exactly what the hell they paid for.
What's that?
Man, look, let me break it down for you like this. Man, it's like one time, man, I remember my little brother, he asked me about the size of my fourth ex-wife. Her name was Nikita.
Nikita?
Her name was Nikita.
With a Q and a K?
Just listen to me, Marcellus. Her name was Nikita.
I hear it.
All right, now Nikita, he had the nerve to come to me and ask me, talking about, damn, bro, she big even for your size, your standard.
Right.
You know, he all in my personal business like this. What is she, bro? About 280, 285? And he made me mad. You know what I'm saying? I got to look at him, look at this, and I said, boy, let me tell you something. I said, boy, that woman looked exactly like she looked on the website. You understand what I'm telling you? She looked exactly like she looked on the website.
You knew what you were getting into.
You understand what I'm saying? I don't like nothing small. Damn me, I don't like nothing small. That was good money I spent. That's why I drive a Cadillac. I can't put all that ass in a Volkswagen.
I'm not on this show right now, but I'm back.
I'm trying to tell you.
Let it know. Did you have that hat?
Let me tell y'all something. A good woman ain't cheap, and a cheap woman ain't.
Did she eat your hat? Did she eat your hat?
No. We were talking about Odell Beckham Jr. We were talking about Odell Beckham Jr.
That's what I'm talking about.
So you knew what he was.
You knew what he was, man.
That money.
For real, man, honestly, for real, I apologize, man. Let me tell you something. Odell Beckham is the only black man I ever known, well, only black person I ever seen look good in the blonde wig. Only black person I ever seen look good in the blonde wig. Only black person I ever seen look good in the blonde wig was Marilyn Monroe.
Oh,
She
man.
ain't black.
She ain't black.
That's what the hell wrong with y'all. See, this is what I'm talking about. See, y'all new kids, y'all new era, y'all new generation. Hell, y'all probably think Eminem white too, don't you? Don't you?
He ain't. Talk about Odell, please.
Man,
What's
look,
your take
all
on
I'm saying
Odell?
is, I'm a job. I'm a grinder. I get out here and get mine.
You do.
I'm out here on the grind getting mine all the time.
You're at Pinky's right now, hot dogs.
You understand
right?
what I'm trying to tell you?
There you go.
Okay, but listen here, one thing about this, man. I do my job, do my contract, I'm done, I'm over. This is the problem I got with Odell Beckham Jr. Odell Beckham Jr., he care about me. He do stupid stuff. Put on costumes. Just want to sit up here and try to get some attention, draw some attention to himself. He want to kiss the net. He want to go out on the boat with everybody.
Wear a hot dog on his head.
Yeah, right, exactly.
He
don't want attention.
I'm a hard-working man.
Your food on your head, though.
Let me get to my approval rating on Odell Beckham Jr.
Everybody got jokes.
I had him previously at a 66. I now have him at a 65. 19 job performance, 16 all-time greatness, 10 character, 20 in authenticity.
Oh, man. You almost had him staying pat. You even you took a little away from him. Everything is going up basically. How? In spite of my offense, in spite of my quarterback, I am still putting up numbers. Production right there. Respect for Odell Beckham Jr. First 3 seasons. We're talking about top in NFL history in receptions and in 100-yard games, second in yardage. The dude is amazing. Despite all of this conversation, he's still balling, man.